Welcome to Beyond the Policy, the podcast where we go past the fine print and into the real stories that shape how we live, work, and protect what matters most. I'm Matt Karaffa, risk advisor, consultant, and founder of the Be Better Foundation, where each week sit down with clients, colleagues, and industry voices to talk about business, life, and the passions that drive each of us and the areas we can all work on to truly be better. This is Beyond the Policy. Welcome to Beyond the Policy. I have Christian Piazza here with me. So, Christian, thanks for taking some time to come out, and excited for our conversation. Kick us off, your relationship to Bowling Green, who you are, what you do now.
Yeah. First off, man, thank you so much for having me. An honor to be together with a fellow Falcon, especially after this past weekend's Battle of I-75 result, a victory, leaving the door open. So thank you for that. In terms of my story, born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan, started off as a basketball player, similar to yourself. That wound up coming to an end my senior year in high school, made the transition switch to football, went down to Fork Union Military Academy in Virginia. From there, got recruited across the country, stepped on campus within 24 hours. Bowling Green was the spot, had the gut feeling. Great people, my parents could be a part of the journey, and then from there got into the wealth management space, realized that I was going to have to go professional in something other than sports, like most student athletes.
Yep.
Came to that realization, got connected with a generous alumni, Mike Wilcox, and eventually wound up going to work for him for 8.5 years. So that was an experience I'm super grateful for, and things led to it about a year from today, actually, 13 months or so. Made the decision to go off and start my own thing and be the captain of our own team.
Yeah, awesome. Before we dig into some questions, maybe just a quick background at your time at BG. Who was your coach? Any championships along the way? What did it look like in those 4 years?
Yeah, so got recruited by Dave Clausen, who then went on to Wake Forest. We won the 2013 championship. After coming in, we were 2-10. So the process of the build, he sold that as a part of the recruiting process. So that was a blast. And then Dino Babers came in. We had a little bit of a hiccup, won the East, went to the championship, lost to Northern Illinois, and then finished off in 2015, winning the championship to sail off into the sunset.
There you go. Any memorable games stick out to you in your career?
Memorable. I think those MAC championship games, all of those are definitely 2013. Just as I was mentioning, going from 2-10 all the way to the culmination, winning our Super Bowl, both on the field and then afterwards into the wee hours of the morning. We definitely got after it.
Yeah. Awesome. So now as we jump into professional life, you and I have had conversations on, being the captain, being the quarterback, and relating it to what you do now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of explain that philosophy on how you connect people, how you oversee kind of people's plan when it comes to wealth management.
Yeah. So I think it goes back to my time in BG, being an offensive lineman and wanting to be a quarterback. The only place that I could be a quarterback was in the bar when I was having conversations asking what position I play. But tailoring it back on a more serious note, I think having my philosophy and the way I was taught is gather as much information as you possibly can, and whether it's a professional relationship, a personal relationship, just try and add value. And I think one of those value adds that we provide and strive to provide is that connector. So in sports sense, the ball is snapped to the quarterback, and it's his job to distribute it, whether it's a QB sneak and he's keeping it, or he's handing it off to the running back, or throwing a long pass. It's get the ball into the best position so that you can score points.
Absolutely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit down with a client for the first time, obviously you just mentioned gathering a lot of information. What else are you looking to gather or make sure you find in that first meeting?
Yeah, great question. So we've dove deep into trying to develop, we call it the process, pretty original, to talk about our process.
Take a while to figure that one out.
Yeah. Bowling Green education. you need a couple master's classes, but the first meeting in that is the discovery. And so what our goal in that is just to learn as much as we can, explain to the client that our goal here is just, is there a mutual fit? Do we share values? Can we help with what you're trying to accomplish? What are your goals? What are your experience you've had working with other advisors? Really taking that big picture approach, because it's the way I see it, a 30-year relationship with somebody, not just a get rich overnight. We're in this for the long haul and making sure that it's a good fit, because we can't be everything to everybody from the get-go.
Yeah, you and I have had conversations about, kind of your philosophy is, hey, Matt, I just want to make sure I'm covered. Let's talk about the costs and everything else, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure I'm covered. And I think you would translate that over into your clients. So what's a couple things of how you and your team go about doing that when you're making sure kind of all those boxes are checked for your clients?
In terms of making sure, so I think what you're alluding to is, from my experience, is like when you're thinking about insurance, or you're thinking about protection, or you're thinking about risk management, what my goal is that hopefully I don't have to use this stuff. But if your house is burning down, or you get into a car accident, or whatever the worst case scenario is, making sure that you're at least getting to back where you were, and making sure that that process is going to be smooth, as opposed to hoping that everything goes to plan, knowing that adversity's coming to every single person. It's going to be in a different shape and a different size, but it's coming to a theater near you, as my strength coach always would say. So just making sure that you're playing offense for your defense, knowing that you've got all your stuff together.
And when you realize that, what point, or when do you bring in, we talked a lot about having a CPA and trust and real estate, protection and all of that. What's the best way you found to kind of connect those people together?
Yeah. So going back to the process, in our discovery meeting, what we're trying to do is get an understanding of those different pieces. Are there other trusted advisors from the get-go? And I always say, I'm not here to break up relationships or things that are already working. But if we do decide to continue and move forward with this process, I'm going to need an introduction to your CPA, or your tax planner, or your insurance specialist, or your attorney, because the key to any relationship, in my opinion, is communication, whether that's business, whether that's marriage, whether that's parenting. It all boils down to communication and making sure that we're moving the train in the same direction, as opposed to getting pulled in different ways.
Makes a lot of sense. A lot of moving parts. Everyone's financial position is going to be different, has different facets that you have to take into account. So that makes sense. So with all of those things that you do and provide for your clients, what's one of the things on your day-to-day that you find most rewarding in what you do?
Most rewarding? That's a great question. If I had to bottle that up into one particular experience, I think it's when you see the full process unfold. So we've worked with some people for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and to see where they were from the get-go, so painting that picture of current state to where they want to get to in the future, whether that's becoming debt-free, or retiring and popping a bottle of champagne and just getting to culminate that moment. It's being on the same side of the table, celebrating in those amazing moments, and also being there in those super tough moments when somebody passes or gets hurt or gets injured, is just being that trusted resource that they can lean on and count on.
Yeah, absolutely. The journey, is part of it. You're going to have some tough days where you're working through some things that probably aren't as fun, but when you see it kind of come full circle, it's got to be pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
In our short conversation so far, we've related a lot back to sports. I think we both would agree sports have been a big part of our life, still are. We've learned a lot from them. So, two-part question. What's one thing from sports that you practice and see day to day in what you do, maybe from a discipline standpoint or the process? And the second question would be, you made the jump kind of figuring out on your own. What advice would you give to someone who may be in that same spot, who's looking to, jump off the ledge and, kind of see what else is out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first question, in terms of what I've learned from sports, tailoring that back to the day-to-day, I would say just the basic simplicities of life in general, of do what you say you're going to do, show up on time, how you do anything is how you do everything. Those simple principles that get just instilled into your brain, that is what differentiates good from great. The people who are willing to do that over and over and over and over again, consistency, sticking to the process, staying true to their core values, that is what I've learned the most from sports. And I think also the teamwork mentality that Christian or Matt or XYZ company, it can't all be on one person's shoulder. So whether it's football or basketball, we win as a team, we lose as a team, but together we're going to communicate, and that's it. I've found it's way more fun to win together as opposed to by yourself. Also, my golf game, the only individual sport I play, needs a lot of help, so I need to even make that a team sport.
Big scramble guy.
Right, yeah, big scramble guy.
Nice. Yeah, and then the follow-up to take that one step further, jumping out some of those things. The words you said are not groundbreaking, new information. It's the commitment and the mental capacity to do what you're going to say and follow through. So, probably a lot of that, led to your success and, onto what you're doing now on your own and kind of putting all that together.
Yeah. And I would just say, it's Piazza Wealth Management, but it's an entire team behind it that makes it possible. I can't have my shoes tied and my coat on and the documents prepared for a meeting without the entire group behind us. So it truly is an entire team that we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, team mentality. Very good. So what's one piece of advice, again, wide range of clients I'm sure you deal with, if you could give one piece of advice, to someone who's, contemplating starting their financial journey and, wanting to check the boxes and, have that conversation with you, what would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah. The best day to have started was 20 years ago. The second best is today. So just take an action, whether it's a small piece of putting together a cash flow statement or a monthly budget, or picking up the phone and calling somebody to protect your family with a term insurance policy, or getting an estate plan put together. It's just take that next step and know that if you just get 1% better today, you and your family and your loved ones are going to be better in the future.
Yeah, love it. Very good.
Yeah.
So touched on a lot of subjects. Just kind of wrap up, bringing everything to a close here. Talking with anyone personally or, business owner, what's one thing you see in your discovery process that you think might be overlooked, put together on the backside? Or, if they have kids and they start having grandkids, and you updated, beneficiaries and that, just looking for some things that, someone might be able to relate to, or make sure, I got to think of that, or make sure I do that.
Yeah. I would say when it comes to a plan, the biggest mishap or hole in a process that I see with somebody is their financial dots are not communicating with each other. So they're getting advice from their tax planner or their CPA, and from their business attorney, and from their financial advisor, and from their insurance specialist, and from their health insurance. And none of those dots have ever had a family meeting or a business meeting, to just gather them all. And now today with technology and Zoom and stuff, you can have people that are all over the country, but it takes purpose, it takes intention to gather those dots together. And I think, again, tailoring it back to the communication piece, is like the best relationships are the ones that communicate with frequency. Sometimes you can over communicate, but I think that is way more beneficial than the latter.
Yeah, makes sense. Now again, wrapping up, to mention a big victory for the Falcons over the Rockets. Best spot in Bowling Green after a big game. Where are you going?
15 years ago, or?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say the first spot, it would be a multiple. BG is more of a bar crawl type scene as opposed to
Understood.
As opposed to just a one-stop shop. So we would hit a house party to start the night, gather all the fellas together, and then it would be Ziggy's, then to Brat House, and we would probably end at, we called it Kamikazes, but Shots Incorporated, just to wrap it up. But as a former offensive lineman, Taco Bell is a must every single night that you go out. So that's where it would culminate.
You led right into me, because my follow-up question is, what's the best late-night food after that night?
Okay.
And you just answered it.
Yeah. So if you had to pick one, it'd be Taco Bell, but there's so many great spots around here.
Fair enough. Anything else you want to share with the audience, how they get in touch with you? Anything else you'd like to add?
Just thank you so much for the opportunity, the invitation. We've got a website, piazzawm.com. LinkedIn, I'm trying to keep up with you in terms of the content, and just making a commitment to verbalize or write down, and just the thought clarity that comes from doing that. So just, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the time. Thanks for hanging out with me on Beyond the Policy. If you got something out of today's conversation, pass it along to a friend, client, or colleague who might enjoy it too. You can always connect with me through the show notes or on LinkedIn. And remember, the best coverage always starts with the right conversations. Until next time, be better.